And I must have said to you 3 times, like, I'm going to retire. And then probably 6 times, I'm going to play one more season. And for some reason, when I told you this time, you knew I was decided.
This episode of the Recap Show is presented by Ally Financial. We're proud to team up with Ally Financial on this special episode. Okay, I thought that we could start with a few gifts. What do you think about that?
I like gifts, but I don't like surprises.
No big surprises. I know you.
Okay.
Bring in the band. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I obviously wanted to start by giving you your flowers.
Yay! How did you sneak those by me?
Congrats on an incredible career.
Oh, you asked my favorite flowers, and you got it right. Thank you. Do I get to do the rest of the episode like this?
Okay. Now that you have your flowers, I wanted to say something else. There's a quote that has become kind of important that we always remember and speak about. And I thought what's really represented in this quote is actually a picture of you.
Oh, you're trying to make me cry.
So, do you know the quote that I feel like goes really well with this?
Oh my gosh, someday I'll look up into the sky and laugh because everything's perfect the way it already is.
Exactly.
Wow, that's not what I was thinking in that moment.
I know, and I never really put the 2 and 2 together.
It's so
I've
beautiful.
seen this photo and replayed this memory over and over in my head, and all of a sudden it clicked.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, and it obviously symbolizes a very emotional moment after just losing your mom, but I just realized, like, it's also, like, so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I decided to do a Tobin's Top Things for you.
Yay!
And it's not every day that I do a Tobin's Top Things at someone and they get to kind of respond back. So,
well, your Tobin's Top Things are really Tobin's roasts, so here we go.
I know. No, these aren't roasty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Okay. The nice to meet you thing. When I said nice to meet you, not knowing that we had already played on a team together.
Rude.
The rumor thing. Your mom spreading a rumor that I didn't finish high school, as if I was some kind of bad influence.
I can't believe you remember that.
The oh sorry, I'll come back later thing. When I walked in on you meditating, it was different in a way that shifted the culture of the national team.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, because you were meditating. The unreal thing. When we first roomed together, I realized you're the most naturally beautiful person ever. I was looking around the room wondering where all the clothes were, all the toiletries, all the makeup. I thought nobody could look that good and be low maintenance. I was wrong.
Well, thank you.
The first impressions thing. One of my earliest memories of training with you before we were dating was your cooler, your sunscreen, you sitting in the tiniest sliver of shade, and then after going to train more after the training. I was impressed. And of course, I was completely unprepared and asked for everything. The just for us thing. Secret rendezvous, snack room, stairwells, van rides, seeing each other for the first time in camp as we passed on opposite sides of an escalator. The fight thing. Seeing your relentless fight for others, seeing your bravery in the face of retaliation. I'm inspired by you.
Oh, I thought it was going to be about me fighting with you.
Oh, that's something. You're right. That would have been so good. See, I need you to write these.
I know.
You're usually my writing partner. The amazing thing. One time I assisted you. It was pure chemistry. I don't know if you remember, but it was almost like I didn't even look. I cut the ball back. It was the perfect pace. A grass cutter. Right into the stride of your pass. One touch finish into the goal.
That was in LA.
It was in LA. And another assist that you did the impossible was when I hit the worst cross of my life and you took a Bergkamp-like touch, swiveled it around your body, and put it in the back of the goal. You amaze me. The opposite thing. My football was played by connecting. Your football was played by disconnecting. With football, we were different. Opposite most of the time. I moved to a song, you listened for a note. We were both obsessed with the music. The 2016 Olympic thing. Getting knocked out in the 2016 Olympics, having the most hellish travel home, being forced to stay in an airport hotel with no windows, and realizing how happy I was even in loss with you.
Oh my gosh, you remember when there was a window that was just painted on? There was not actually a window, it was just a blue square.
Remember, Becky didn't come out of her room and we were really worried. The fans outing us thing. No notes. The fan thing. Watching you with awe. How despite not having the same role as you once had, seeing you honor your gift and be joyful. Mentoring, being generous with the fans, leading in a new way, and training with the same ferocity. I have loved watching and cheering for you. I even love watching you warm up.
Thanks.
As athletes, we invest everything in our game. And we know the culture of sport on and off the field is just as important as what happens on the pitch. The game never ends. So it's important to have partners who are just as invested as we are. That's why we're so excited to team up with our friends at Ally Financial. Ally's investment in women's sports for fans and for athletes is game-changing. Thank you, Ally Financial, for changing the game with us. Let's go on a journey this episode.
Okay.
So the quote from that poster was, when you realize how perfect everything is, you will tilt your head back and laugh at the sky. CP23, I love you. This is a huge deal and a big moment. So I guess I'd like to start with, how did you come to this decision to retire?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I keep seeing people say like, I'm retired and I'm so happy and I'm free and I have so much to be proud of. But that's not really what my sentiment is at the moment. Hopefully it is next year. I was torn all season, and probably even the season before. I mean, I was pretty vindicated last season that I wanted to play this season. But I'm sure we'll get into that, because how hard I had to fight to be here, it made me start the season with the question of, is this going to be my last season? And if I was a betting woman, I would have bet that I would play one more year, because I was waiting for something to force me to stop. I was waiting for a sign or a need or an impossibility, because I didn't think I was strong enough to say I don't want to play soccer anymore. And I didn't start playing soccer because I chose it. And I think up until the moment I made the decision, I didn't think it was even possible for me to choose not to play. And most of our national team knows that I would, like 10 years ago, I was like, can't do this forever. Like I felt inside of me that this was not what I was supposed to spend the rest of my life doing. Like for everyone, soccer's going to end. But for me, I just had that feeling pretty early on that I wanted something more. And yet there was just this block where, with a lot of things, and I learned this during my kind of healing journey, that I didn't think I got to choose. Like when I heard the quote, like athletes are like, oh, you got to go out on your terms. I used to literally laugh and be like, nothing happens on your terms. Like we have control over nothing. Like, and I was just waiting for something to like lightning to strike. And then it'd be like, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could imagine calling my dad and saying, Dad, the club didn't want to sign me. I could say, my body just can't play anymore. But I couldn't imagine calling him and say, I decided not to play. I can play. I love playing. I want to play another season. My body's okay. But I've chosen something else. I chose the rest of my life and I chose it now. And the rest of my life will always be there and soccer won't. And I'm choosing it now. That felt like a really hard place to get to. But as soon as I got there, I was there. And I must have said to you 3 times, like, I'm going to retire. And then probably 6 times, I'm going to play one more season. And for some reason, when I told you this time, you knew I was decided. Right?
Yeah, for sure. We talk about family, and your family is so important to you. You have this loyalty, this bond that is so strong. Where does family fit into this decision for you? In terms of even your origin story in starting soccer, your family, not just yourself, but your 2 sisters as well. Like soccer for a long time was the identity of your family. So talk about what that decision was like. Did you think about them?
Soccer in some ways was the 6th member of my family. Like there is no soccer for me without the Press family. And that's because, you know, my 2 sisters and I, we played soccer together growing up, same teams, outside in the backyard. Both my parents coached. If one was the coach, the other was the manager, laminating the player cards. We drove to Lancaster, to the middle of nowhere on Sundays to play. And those were like the times that my dad got up and he would put a pillow in the car and he would say, oh, you sleep it while I drive because you need to be fresh for the game. And we would have a cooler packed on the drive home and we'd stop it in and out and we'd be listening to TLC. Like there's nothing that I can remember about my family that's not football. Like for all 3 of us, from the beginning, we had a tarnished relationship with football because my parents cared too much. And we thought as little tiny humans that winning soccer games could help our family heal and help our family stay together, because in some ways it did. And because of that, there was a really strong bond between all of us in the game. That was a love and it was a hate, because when I was a little girl and I lost, I was losing for the people I love the most. And I was losing the opportunity to make the people that I love the most proud. And there isn't a game, a practice, or a moment of football that I've ever really been there for myself. Like, it's just never been about me. It's never been for me. And it was really hard too. Like I was better than my sisters. And that was really a hard dynamic growing up when we were all playing for our parents and we were all just playing to make them happy. And both of my sisters had really hard time. And then they had to quit and to let go. And they went through the moment I'm going through now in college. And they've been on the other side of this for years. But it was just as tragic for them as it is for me. And I've had a 33-year career, right? Because the impact it had on my family. And I mean, I think to just go in it a little, just tell me if I'm going too far, but like my dad was an athlete. He was an American football player and he played through college. He captained his college Dartmouth team when they won the Ivy League championship, and he still wears his Ivy League ring to this day. He's very mad that I lost 3 Pac-10 rings and I don't wear any of them. And like he had 3 daughters. Like he was supposed to have a son, right? And he had 3 daughters, and he decided, like, it was just the only thing that made sense was that like he was going to relate to us through sport. And because my mom and my dad had such a tumultuous relationship, what happened was my mom actually became completely obsessed with soccer. And I could write a book on that, okay? But I'll leave it at that because my mom becoming obsessed with soccer is what impacted us because we lived for my mom. We played for my mom. We played to make my dad happy because that made my mom happy. And that's what birthed my love of scoring goals because Stacy and Cody Press on the sideline when I scored, it was not pretty. It was not humble. It was humiliating. My friends in high school, my guy friends in high school used to come to my high school soccer games to listen to my dad call names at the other team like Four Eyes and then run around and scream because I scored. And in high school, I scored all the time.
I know. I saw those stats.
So, yeah, I mean, that's what football means to my family. I moved to Sweden to get away from them, and they came to like every game. They flew across the world. It's 17 hours to travel to Sweden, and they came to every game, Champions League, home and away. I was in like Budapest, like countries they couldn't even get in. They were like driving across the border. Like, that's just what it's been. And yeah, it's not always been a good thing. You know, I would tell you that it was a shame that I didn't get to choose what I wanted to do with my life. But mostly I feel immense gratitude to my mom and my dad for, no, not for caring as much as they did. I would have turned that down a couple of notches, but for telling me I was the best player in the entire world from 4 years old until now. Like, that was just before I went to bed. You are the best player in the whole world. You're the best player to ever lace up the boots. Every single night. And it's like, the truth was like, you could have said you're the best and fill in the blank of anything. And that is a powerful force to give your daughter. And it was definitely one that I felt like I had to earn. I didn't feel like I had an intrinsic value. I felt like I had to win and play and score for that. But it was the drumbeat of my life and my childhood.
Totally. Sorry, I was really wrapped up in that moment. You wrote about your retirement in 3 different parts. And in one of the parts, you write, I have a confession. I don't think you were ever my dharma, my destiny, or my purpose. You were simply my way. When you wrote that, what were you thinking? And if football wasn't this, looking back now in your career, what did football mean to you?
Dharma is a complicated word, obviously, but I think for me, it means when your like life's purpose is aligned with like your work. It's like your job, like how you spend your time is in flow with like your actual reason for being. And not very many people get to live their dharma, right? But I think about that in juxtaposition to you because football was your dharma. You were put on this earth to dribble and cross and tactically solve the game in your mind and then somehow figure out how to be the one player that can make all the dominoes fall. And I believe I was put on the soccer field so that I had a platform to fight for equality and justice and progress on behalf of the different groups of people that I represent and that don't get given equality and opportunity and resources. And I think that that's a perspective I have now, like having played for the national team for a decade and now being off it. Like my whole identity of a soccer player is a U.S. women's national team player. And my whole identity as a U.S. women's national team player was the fact that I played on that team for a time period where we completely transformed the pay structure and business of soccer. And my parents wanted me to play for the U.S. women's national team. And I didn't play on youth teams. I went to college and I won the Mac Herman and I didn't get called up. Like, I felt for so much of my life that like there was this door in front of the national team and I couldn't break through it. And I got on the team at 24. Like, you had already been on the team for 7 years when I got my first call up. But when I got in that door and the time that just happened to be right when we were going to be fighting for equal pay and this lawsuit and 2 collective bargaining agreements, like it felt like that was my destiny. And yeah, and it's because I've always felt like there was something outside of soccer that really I needed for stimulation. And at some point, like literally like the law of equality, it became my passion. And learning how to galvanize, how to empower, how to use information to create a union, to create pay structures, like that was 10 years of my life. Like, I played games, and in order to play games, I had to play well, because if you don't play well, you don't go to the next camp. I had to score goals. And so all of these things, like it almost was like on the field, it was happening to me so that I could do these things that I actually don't know if someone else could do. And I never really had the role on the national team that I wanted, but I had just enough role to always be there, to always be there and to be important enough for people to listen, to be just good enough for people to care. And then I do feel like I served my dharma on that team and in football for a very long time. And whatever God-given talent, whatever work ethic my parents instilled in me, it was all for that. It was all to be there, to sit across the bargaining table and to learn and understand how our infrastructure gets built and how it gets torn down.
That's amazing.
I don't know if it is.
It's so true. Obviously witnessing it. When you say it wasn't your choice, I keep thinking about, a lot of players that I played with growing up that were definitely like motivated by their parents. And there was always, though, a point, usually college, because that's when they go off on their own, and they get to start making decisions for themselves, where that will fall off. They'll finally stop playing. But for you, what's so interesting is, like you said, you won the Mac Herman, which is the best player in the country, and you're still not a national team player, which I don't think there's anyone that won the Mac Herman trophy that wasn't then on the national team.
Yeah, you should hear my parents talk about that.
Yeah, and rightfully so. But at that point in your career, you're no longer going up, right? Even though you weren't on the national team when you should have been.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're still going up, right? College, going up. But then after that, what makes you keep playing? Because most people at that point, yes, like the professional structure wasn't there like it is now. But then you go to Sweden. That's not something in my mind, if you're saying like football, like I didn't choose it. That to me seems like a choice. You don't go to Sweden unless you're, in my mind, pursuing something.
I have willpower.
Yeah, you certainly do.
When I say that, I think there's a part of me that knows how to suffer. And I think when you say like, oh, at some point people fall off, like I was never going to fall off. I'm 36 and I'm sitting here like, maybe I should play one more year. Like I have willpower. Like I'm not afraid to suffer. And I did not think I had a choice to not play. And when you don't have a choice, you kind of feel that in sport. Like when you have to win, you win. When you have to play, you play. I had to play. I had to make the national team. That was just the way it was.
Yeah.
And, going pro, of course I went pro. I could go pro. I was going to go pro. But then when the league folded, after my rookie season, I had every other national team player around me went into residency, and every non-national team player was unemployed. And I think there was probably 5 of us that kept playing. It was the national team, and the rest of my peers, the rest of your peers, stopped playing soccer because there was no domestic league.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at my parents' house when I got that email that the league folded. And I was at my parents' house when I talked to the coach of my team in Sweden 3 days later. And I flew from Los Angeles to Gothenburg, Sweden 3 days after that with 2 giant bags packed and literally no idea why. And you know me, I do not take time to second guess things.
Mm-mm.
Like the amount of times people who I've told that I'm no longer going to play soccer have asked me if I regret it. That concept doesn't even make sense to me. Like, who makes a decision and then looks back and wonders if it was the right one? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. You just keep going. Like, once you have to spend time making decisions, which I'm working on. But most of my life, I don't think too much about my decisions. I pray to God that it's going to work out. I believe it's going to work out. And I just go. And, to decide, think about that. First year as a pro, never on the national team. And to decide in 7 days, I'll drop everything.
Yeah.
And just move. Like, I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
And I think that came from a decision-making process that was outside of my own body.
Yeah.
And I do talk about this in the letters, like the ability in the last chapter of my career that I've learned to connect with myself and ask myself what I want. I'm learning that at 35, like in my mid-30s, I'm learning that I actually get to do what I want. And in order to know what I want, I actually have to feel my body. That is completely new. Like, I lived my whole life. Like, people thought the whole time I played professional soccer, people thought I was Zen, right? I have a wholesome brand. But the truth is, I was just anxiety ridden, going from one thing to the next on a hunt to be great. Same way everyone else is, basically, right? And yeah, I think the reason that I kept going was because when your parents tell you you're the best player in the world from 3, you really believe that you're going to be. And you just have the will to endure a lot in order to get there.
We know you love staying up to date on the latest shows, music, and moments. And now there's something new in fitness you need to know about. The Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most elevated piece of equipment yet. With Peloton IQ, you get intelligent strength coaching that actually counts your reps, fixes your form, and tells you when to push harder. It's like having your own personal trainer, but way smarter. And here's the best part. You're never stuck in one routine. With the swivel screen, you can go from running to strength training to stretching all in one workout. Plus, Peloton IQ builds personalized plans matching you with classes that help you reach your goals. Each week, it recommends classes with instructors who match your style, so it feels like the plan was designed just for you. And in a way, it is. It's smart, it's fresh, and it's definitely trending. This is more than equipment. The new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus is a tool for transformation. So let yourself run, lift, stretch, push, and go. Check out the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com. So one of our amazing producers said this metaphor that I think really resonates with your journey on the national team, but it's in reference to Under the Tuscan Sun. Do you know that?
I know that movie.
So the metaphor is referring to a mountain in Austria that at the time they laid a track down on this mountain before there was ever a train that could make it up the mountain. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Why would they do that? Because they believed?
They believed. It's building for something that wasn't even or wasn't there yet. But it's like if the train track doesn't get laid, does someone ever create then a train that can go up it? And that's what I think about with your career. you laying a path, a way, you creating a destiny before there ever was a train or anything to go up it. When I talk about like the word that stands out the most when I think of Christen Press is conviction. And it was so obvious the first time I met you, and I didn't know where it came from. I didn't know like how it was born, but it was this idea that you believed in equal pay before we even thought as a team that we were worth the same as the men. You know, like it seems so silly now because it's such a big part of our journey, but you believed in the value of people that were different than you, that you knew didn't have the same opportunities. You had this deep conviction for justice, for the way that people deserve to be treated, for human rights. You had this deep conviction that was so, it made people around you believe too, and believe in their own worth, to believe in their own value. You said it with so much conviction, like you already had seen the future, you know? And I wondered when I was looking back and I was thinking about you, like where did that conviction come from?
This is going to turn into a family story.
Is it?
Yeah, this whole thing's about my parents, but it's so obvious to me. It's because I grew up in a Black family. Because my family's Black. And I grew up with a lot of privilege in a white community and all white neighbors, all rich people around us. And every single day I walked through the door and my parents made sure to let me know that this was not what the world looked like and that this was not fair. That it wasn't fair the way that our history had continued to segregate groups of people based on, you know, their different races, genders, sexual orientations. That wasn't included in my family. You know, but yeah, and I think when you said like conviction, I think of like all of the Crusaders, all of the freedom fighters, all of the people in American history that have pushed so far. Most of them are Black. It is like part of the identity. And I'm not saying I'm any of those people. I'm not. But my parents made sure that I knew that the way the world wasn't right. And when I think of the word conviction, there is none other than Stacey Press that was more convicted about whatever she believed.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think it's interesting because I am white presenting in a lot of spaces and to a lot of people. And my mom was entirely white presenting, that people don't really associate me in that way. And I don't think it's really understood that that's like what my roots and history is. And in a lot of ways, my mom used to always feel like she was the spy, like that people would say things in front of her that they wouldn't say in front of my dad or even her children who were more brown because she was white presenting. And it just made her absolutely furious about the state of the world. And my life's mission was to make my mom happy. And, you know, if you look at what my sisters, both their work, like my sister works with underprivileged communities and early childhood education with special needs. My other sister works for, you know, civil rights freedom. Like it's what was asked of us to be a Black family that grew up with such privilege. It was what was demanded of us. We were not going to take anything for granted. And that's what gave me conviction. And the idea that, you know, I keep coming back to like, it wasn't for me. It wasn't my choice. Like it wasn't my dharma. But like, I'm going to throw a wrench in all of it. Like all of it is for me in like a different way. Like even the work, like even the speaking out on issues, even the kneeling, even the CBA, even like all the protests, like it was all because it's nourishing and it makes me proud and it makes me feel like I have purpose and value. And I am a person that never felt their inherent value. And I went out and I searched for it. I searched for it in goals. I searched for it in stadiums. I searched for it in, my mother's eyes. I searched for it in the admiration of my teammates saying like, wow, Pressy, you're staying up really late, learning about the lawyer stuff. Like I didn't play the role I wanted on that team. But I was admired for the work that I did behind closed doors. And like, it is all for me, and I got to enjoy like all the sides of it. And I got to make my parents proud, like never proud as I would have wanted, but proud all the way through. And I think in the end, like I've always been a person that knows exactly what I want. And I've always believed that if you know what you want, you can get it.
Yeah, I mean, you've taught me so much about the world and about, really opening my eyes to so many things and educated me. And I really appreciate that part about our relationship because I feel that within my own upbringing, I was so, not wool over the eyes, but I was so blind to so much. And it has been a really great gift. And I know for a fact you gave that to the rest of the U.S. Women's National Team as well. And when we think about the sport of soccer or football in our country, it is very white and privileged, which it's not in the rest of the world. And you obviously recognize that, had deep conviction around that. Even your dad with the types of teams and what he was invested in at a young age when you were first starting playing soccer is very intentional to not have it be a white privileged sport. Mm-hmm. And you obviously took that to all the teams. And when you first came on the team, there were not many Black players on the U.S. Women's National Team. And there were certainly not many Black players playing a position of center forward for the U.S. Women's National Team. You were one of one. And now when I look at the U.S. Women's National Team and I see all the incredible Black players on the U.S. Women's National Team, we had at the Olympics, we had starting 3 of the attack Black players. And I can't help but be proud. Like, I love that you were part of opening the door to Black players on the U.S. Women's National Team. And, you are the highest. I don't know if you know this. I mean, you're the highest scoring everywhere. It's just ridiculous how many goals you have scored. But you're the highest scoring Black player in U.S. Women's National Team history. And I know a lot of Black players are coming for you with that number.
Not for long.
but I think like that is the first. And I know that when we talk about what your dad's proud of and what your family's proud of, that is what your family is most proud of.
Yeah.
And
you alluded to it. Like when I was growing up, I played for Slammers, which is in Orange County, everyone knows Orange County. It's a white privileged Laguna Beach show. And my parents sponsored players to be on my team. They paid the club fees for Black and brown players to be there. So like that's the model. And also, of course, I know that. Like, of course, I know I'm the highest scoring Black player. Of course, because my parents tell me it every night. Like, you know what I mean? Like, It goes hand in hand. And I was, I'm the highest scoring player at Stanford, and Kat Macario and Soph were both coming for me.
Yeah.
And my mom every year was like, there's some young players that scored more goals in their rookie and sophomore season than you. And they both got injured or drafted and didn't break my record. My mom was over the moon. So those 2 players, you keep that in mind when you keep scoring for the U.S. national team and you take my title. Yeah. Stacey will not be happy in heaven.
They can't go back to college.
But they can't go back to college.
It is really special. And actually, I think a lot about you and the things that you've pioneered. But I will go on a rant can I go on a rant? Because that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
I'm going on a football rant, and you can sit down for a while because you've been talking about deep things. I can go on a football rant. So, and this is for everyone, and especially, and I really want the players that elite players understand this the best. And I'm going to pass down this wisdom and this knowledge. And I hope that people that are responsible for elite players or growing elite places, whatever, hear this. The hardest thing to do in football is score goals. It is the hardest thing. Anyone can score a goal. Anyone can. Alyssa Nair actually just scored a goal. That is cool. Anyone can score a goal. But to consistently score goals in every environment, I'm talking goals after goals after goals, like for your identity as a player to just be goals, singularly just goals, is the hardest thing to find in football. It's actually like a dying breed. I could go into that whole thing. It is a diamond in the rough. When you have a player that has this characteristic, you are sitting on a lottery ticket because all you have to do is set up everyone else that you can pick players from. You can make players do whatever you want. There are a lot of puppet players out there, believe me. But you can set up a team for your diamond. That's what you do. I love playing for diamonds. I love having players on my team that are out and out goal scorers because I know that that's their complete focus. I know that they dissociate from all the rest of the game to do this one thing that they have to do. And I love that. When I don't have that on my team, I'm like, oh no, because that means everyone else has to put in some type of miracle goal. It's tough. I am not a diamond. I loved diamonds. I love you as a diamond.
Yeah, what other diamonds did you love?
Let's get into that. You are known for your smile on the field. For someone that didn't choose what they do, you sure look like you enjoy it. Why are you smiling on the field? Are you happy? Are you joyful?
You know, I tend to smile when I'm suffering. So I always thought it was a little ridiculous how much we care about a game. And sometimes, especially when I mess up, it's like a little hilarious. And so most of the time that you see me smiling, it's like I just shot and missed. And like the magnitude of how many shots I've taken in my life and how much I care if that ball goes in, it becomes absurd in my mind. And I just giggle a little as I run back because it's like, you're just going to try again.
Yeah.
But it's like such an enormous weight you carry for a game that, like, games for kids, you know, like, and I do have fun. Like, there's the enormity of it and the pressure, but it's like, I also love it. And I love feeling good at it. And I love that I can do something that I don't know if someone else can do.
Yeah.
And I do love how specific I've become at what I'm good at and how much expertise and knowledge that I have on one small part of the game. And yeah, and you get to compete and you get to just unashamedly want to be better than other people. Mm-hmm. And like, that makes me laugh. Like, imagine if you just went around in life trying to beat everybody else. Like, it's a funny thing to do. And I think I just always saw the sense of humor in it. And I love running around and I love being outside and I love camaraderie. And I had such a mindset with my family that it was like us against the world. And like only in a team do I feel that togetherness outside of my family. And like football is hilarious. Like think of my team right now, we have Japanese players, Brazilian players, like all these people, they don't even speak the same language and we're all trying to yell at each other and communicate and like it's fun. And it doesn't happen in other places.
Yeah.
And, you know, I said it before on the recap show, and I'll probably say it again. Like, as athletes, as artists, we're vessels. And when I smile and laugh on the field, I'm just a part of a larger energy in a stadium. And some of that emotion that's in that stadium is joy. And I get to carry that when I play.
Yeah. I think you bring such a human element to the game and to your experiences playing that people are able to relate so much. And you're right, it doesn't have to do with the soccer itself. It's because it's the ups and downs of life. It's like you said, the beautiful tragedies and finding meaning in them. And I just think so much of your story when you think of tragedies, and you've had a few. Obviously, your mom passing was the greatest tragedy of your life, and obviously then tearing your ACL, which felt like a tragedy in some ways, but it was your vulnerability and your ability to still connect with people and to bring people into those moments and almost like not be ashamed of, I think, parts of the human element to being an athlete that really people just resonate with because they can connect with it. Like non-professional athletes, can't really connect with, like, obviously they love watching players score, but they can't really connect with the human that much. And there was like some part of your journey and your storytelling that you just were just so relatable, I think, to so many people.
I love living the full human condition. That's like my thing that I say. You've heard it a million times. Like, when my teammate's nervous, I'm like, you're alive. You're living the human condition. When someone's sad and they're leaving, I'm like, you're mourning. You're living the human condition. And I think when I say like, oh, the enormity of it is like hilarious, it's like I do find joy at being pushed to the brink. I do find joy in feeling grief, because grief is the cost of love. And it's like, I just like all this stuff. And I'm not afraid of being sad. I'm not embarrassed if I mess up, like, because I think it's interesting to be human. Like, I think it's interesting to be messy. And yeah, and I honestly think I'm very lucky that the women's soccer community is so graceful. Like, it's not normal, I don't think, for all the grace that I've gotten. I missed a penalty that got my team kicked out of an Olympics, and they started a Dogs for Christen campaign to make me feel better about it. Like,
no, but I think like so much of that is like you bringing people into this human element of you. But then I think also is you just fighting for yourself, which represents and inspires people to fight for themselves and to fight for others and to fight for the same things that you care about. And there's a couple things that come to mind that were just like you fighting, this enormous abusive culture that was rampant in our league. You fighting when you were traded against your will, fighting so hard, doing what another player and saying, no, I'm not going. I am a person that gets to choose. And you chose and you went back to Sweden. And you fighting for equal pay. You fighting for racial justice. You fighting, always fighting. And even at the end of your career, continuing to fight for the next generation when people were talking about a next generation in a way that we thought was disrespectful, you fighting for them and believing in them and encouraging them and mentoring them and fighting for, space and spaces to be created for, women's sports that we can be proud of, and so much fighting. And we always talk and you always say the fighting is exhausting, but it also seems like it's also part of this greater purpose, this way. Football, you didn't choose football, but football chose you. We needed you. We needed someone like you to make a way, to make this new way that other people get to walk through. And for me, like, I get to say thank you. Like, I've seen the fighting, like, behind the scenes. I've seen the players that you fought for that they don't even know that you've done that for them. I've seen how you've put your neck on the line for people and they don't even know. They will never know. But the game is better. And I am inspired every day by your fighting and the conviction that you were given at a young age to make this way. And maybe football certainly wasn't your landing place, but it was your place to go through and to make a path through. And it's so evident in the legacy that you have left. And, you know, the ability to be really proud of what we and what you have given to the next generation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have two things.
Great.
Actually, I actually kept imagining the photo that you gave me at the beginning of this episode because that's what I'm going to miss about sports. It's like so much happens in our brains and we can't find a way to connect and express. But I scored a goal with my head and people from all over the country knew that I put my arms up in celebration of my mother and I was able to honor her without having to say a word. And it was joy and it was sadness and it was like community and collective. And you were on the other side of the field. You were playing on the right, I was on the left, and you fell to your knees by yourself. And my dad held his heart up in the stadium like this, wobbled around. And it's like, you know, I say football wasn't for me. Like that is such a beautiful thing. Like it's such a beautiful game. And it gave me a way to express. I think I'm very well-spoken and communicative, but it gave me a way to express at a level that like words can never do justice. So I wanted to say that. And then the second thing is about the fighting. You know, some of the things that I fought for, people do know about, whether I told them or they found out or they read my HR reports.
Some are definitely still unresolved.
Yeah, some of them are commemorated. But there's been a lot of things that I fought for that are for me. And I think it's such an important part of my story to fight for myself. And it's a part of the story that I guess doesn't get spoken about because it's not glossy. Like I've been called expensive and demanding. And when I was called that, I said, well, where's the insult? Because I worked really hard to be expensive and demanding, and it's not easy. Being demanding is exhausting. Talk about exhausting. The hard part is, as I move into the next phase, like I want to say I'm done fighting. Like I want to say I am done. But it's like, then what am I going to do? Like I'm not going to fight and not going to play soccer. I'm going to be bored. So I think what I feel. See, that's what my therapist says. Don't think about what you feel, just feel. I feel that I need a break from the direct attack on who I am. I feel like I need a break from people just being uncomfortable with my existence because I believe I have worth and I'm not afraid to say it. And the beautiful thing is with Ree, we're able to fight the good fight alongside people that are aligned in the larger values. And we've been able to create a team of people that almost feel too good to be true because they're not constantly fighting to make others feel small. That almost feels like what we've created almost feels too good to be true because we have a small team of people that value each other and believe in abundance and work in the same direction. And it's the first time in a work environment, and it's the first non-soccer environment that I've ever felt not under attack just for existing. And that's going to be a different type of fighting that we get to do in that team. But I would be lying to say I'm not going to grieve the loss of this game, and that I haven't already been grieving it. Like I have. I sit here and I say, sometimes I think I speak in a way that makes it like I don't love football, but there's nothing more than I love, because football gave me everything. It gave me you. It gave me confidence. It gave me my finances. It brought me literally everything. And it, just like every other athlete, you die twice. And this part of me that has at times felt like the only part of me, the part of me that's taken up so much space that I didn't even know there was other parts to me, is soon going to die. And I will miss her.
Me too. This episode of TRS was brought to you by Ally Financial. Thanks, Ally, for your investment and all you do for women's sports to advance the game both on and off the field.